Hisoka. He's like, who's your daddy?
Welcome, everyone, to OCHATO, the fortnightly podcast where we drink tea and review manga. I am Jade.
I am Oliver.
And I am Suellen.
Every 2 weeks, we pick a manga that one of us has recommended, and we read up to a certain chapter and discuss the manga with a megaton of spoilers. This week, we are reading Hunter x Hunter by Yoshihiro Togashi, up to chapter 22, and this was recommended by me. But before diving in, we must know the answer to the most important question. What is everyone drinking in their mug?
Well, for me this week, it is Turmeric Gold by Pucker. I bought a giant box of like all of the tea that they do, so I'm slowly hacking my way through that.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You're stock up on tea.
Mm-hmm.
Ready for the tea apocalypse.
Teapocalypse, if you will.
Uh,
I will follow up with a question of Jade. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Twinings' chamomile and honey.
Oh, that sounds good.
Oh, chamomile. Wow. You did 180 on that.
It's grown on me.
Wow.
It's like actually quite. I like the blend. It's not bad. You know, it's in a tea bag. The colors are sort of like muted barley color. It's like that color that you get when you rinse your watercolor paintbrush, but like you didn't put much paint on, and it's like sort of diluted a bit. But you were like painting a sunflower or something. It's
So
like that color.
Lovely.
What is it that we
So then,
always
of all the
compare
ways you could have phrased that.
Anyway, Suellen, what about you?
I am drinking is it blood and blend? Blood and blend.
Uh-huh.
Popping Xmas toffee.
Oh, that one's great.
Yeah. It's got sunflower petals on it. I read the description.
Oh,
It does indeed taste very sunflowery.
what does sunflower taste like?
Not piss.
Thankfully.
Do they actually taste like, you know, those like sunflower seeds that you get? And then
Yeah,
you
a little
just-
bit. Because you know, like how in like Asian culture we eat like we don't just eat the seed, but we do the act of like biting into the husk and like then consume the seed. So like it tastes like a husk a little bit. When you ate too much like those like snacks, your mouth kind of tastes like that. Yeah, that's what it tastes like.
That sounds so nice.
Mm.
Yeah, I can imagine that being really, really nice. That was lovely. I really like it when we have good teas on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So we are reading Hunter x Hunter by Yoshihiro Togashi. And this was first published in 1998. And fun fact, the mangaka of Hunter x Hunter is married to the mangaka of Sailor Moon, which we reviewed 3 episodes ago. 2 episodes ago.
Don't they occasionally pop up in each other's manga?
Yes, which is really, really cute.
Hella cute.
But yeah, it's nice that they support each other so much. But yeah, so Hunter x Hunter is about this boy called Gon. His full name is Gon Freaks, and he lives in a village. And then this guy called Kite comes in and says, "Oh, I'm the protege of Ging, your dad." And then Gon's like surprised, right? And then yeah, and then he's like, "I'm gonna take the Hunter exam because like it's what my dad did in it, and like I kind of want to see what my dad did and like experience, you know, the life of my dad, because he hasn't seen his dad in a while because his aunt is like, your dad died, and he's like, I don't believe you. And then so he goes off to take the Hunter exam, but to get there, the first stage is like they have to go on a ship, right? And the ship's in a storm. But the thing is, like, most people are like, oh no, we're going down. And Gon's like super chill. He's like, no, we're gonna be fine. He's like smiling throughout the whole thing. I'm like, how?
He has no sense of danger.
Exactly. I think that's how he does so well in everything. He's like, I'm gonna treat it like I was in the forest with all my friends.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of need to be if you're a shonen protagonist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
None of them are like,
So-
oh, you know what? Actually, it does look a bit dangerous over there. Let's not go.
Even his friends who are so on the boat, he meets Kurapika and Leorio. Even they're like, you know what, we're gonna take on this task with you, which is turns out to be a good thing, because like they make up the core crew, if you will. So then Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio. So yeah, they travel together on the ship in the storm, and then because they're the chill ones, they instantly gravitate towards each other. And although Kurapika and Leorio fight a little bit, they're mostly still on good terms, kind of like agree to disagree kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get to the exam site. Well, no, they don't. They like land near to the exam site because the captain of the ship said, you know what, you guys are great, you made me laugh, I'll take you near to where it is. And he gives Gon a hint, like go through, go to the top of this hill, get to the tree, and then carry on from there. So he does that, and then they have to solve a riddle, and then they go to the exam site eventually, where they meet all the other contestants, a few of which stand out to us at this point in time, namely Killua, who is another boy that just kind of clicks with Gon.
Boys in my shonen.
You can kind of tell that they're going to be like BFFs.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way that they click so well in the beginning. But yeah, there's Killua, there's Hisoka, who is interesting. Everyone's got their eye on him. He's doing some stuff. And then there's the guy who gave people laxatives in their drinks or something. And so we have the kind of characters to focus on for this part. And then we start the exam, and of course it's a series of trials. It's one exam after the other. And I think the point that we stop at, which is chapter 22 in the manga, is where they have just passed the final trial and they make it out of the exam.
Wasn't that the second trial?
Yes.
Where they've just... So I'm actually on the chapter now. Hang on.
Possibly.
So
I was...
They've just had to choose between taking the... So they've almost run out of time in this time limited exam. And they've got like, an hour left. And they're like, hey, you can either go left, which is going to take you 45 hours, or right, but only 3 of the 5 if you can go that way. And it would take you under 3 minutes. And they're like, you know what? We're going to pretend we're taking the long one. And we're going to break through the wall and then take the short route. And so, of course, they do that because why not? And they end up with 25 people remaining, just about to go to Zebiru's Island. I can't say it.
Ah, yeah, of course. Because, like, it's like only a limited amount of applicants actually get to the end of the exam. Yeah, you're
so
right.
it was not, in fact, the final trial.
Yes, yeah. So that was basically what happened in our 22 chapters of the manga. So what were your first impressions of Hunter x Hunter?
Suellen, I see you pulling a thinking face. Would you like to also pull a speaking face, or would you like me to?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So Hunter x Hunter's kind of a fun one for me because I had already read some of it beforehand, like maybe 2 or so years ago, switching out with the anime. So I like watched some anime, and then when I was like, you know what, this is taking a little while, let's switch to the manga. And I was like, oh man, this is a great animated, and I'd switch back, which is a fun way of consuming it. So I guess first impressions were, this is definitely a shonen. they have the like, hey, here's an exam you need to take that we're going to come up with these like incredibly arbitrary success conditions, and then we're going to give you two options that both seem bad, and you're going to be like, no, I will carve my own path and find a third. Which was very classic, always works. Characters I thought were interesting. I really liked actually that Leorio is not that much older than the other two, despite looking like a fully grown man. Gon's pretty fun as a main character. I still can't tell if his hair's like properly green or black. It's green, right?
I thought it was black.
And there's our issue. We don't know. But
yeah,
cool concept. The first 22 chapters are very like OG shonen-y. So not a huge amount to say on that. That's particularly different to many others. Classic exam arc. I was kind of expecting the intro to be a bit longer, to be honest. Kind of like in One Piece, when it was a little more lengthy. Whereas he's like off the island within, what, 2 chapters? 1 chapter?
I think that's interesting because so what was it, red-haired Shanks in One Piece, he was kind of staying on the island as like a stopping point. So I it's interesting that he spent some time with Luffy and like made sure he was okay and stood up for him and stuff. And it's interesting how contrasted to this, where with Kite, he is a hunter, so it's like he has many different jobs to do, so it's like he can't stay in that one place for too long. So yeah, no, that is an interesting thing to think about there as well.
There are many parallels, right, between the One Piece and Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, for sure.
Did we know Luffy's parents?
I don't think so.
Again, it's the classic. It's like child with either unknown or supposedly dead or questionable parents. That's like, I'm going to do great thing, and then I don't know. I liked how quickly Gon headed out and was like, let's go. Within like a chapter.
Yeah.
Was it what you were expecting when you knew? Did you know it was a shonen? Suellen particularly.
Oh yeah, definitely. So my experience with it is I hear about it a lot from different people, and I see clips on Twitter. I've seen the tunnel scene animated a little bit, just a bit where the two characters meet. Because I don't know why, like a lot of people were being like, it's like first time they met. It's like where it all began, and I was like, oh, that's cute. So it was interesting, like watching, reading it again, and in manga format. The first impression of this manga, I think I have a similar one to you, Ollie, where it's like, this is definitely, there's no doubt that you're reading shonen. It's very shonen-y, like this main character who has all the determination in the world, who has special abilities, and it's extraordinary from the start, right? And then he goes along and meet different characters who who also, finds him interesting, and they sort of all band together and try to work as a team and solve not puzzles, get through the trial together, which is quite nice. I like that bit. But I think for me, I feel like I haven't read enough to be invested so far, because right now, even though we're sort of in the deep trenches of the Hunter exam, I still, because we're still at the beginning, there's no like suspense for me. I know they're gonna get through it. It's fine. Like, like I feel like when after the trial, when it gets to the meat of it, when they're actually going on missions or seeing the characters more developed, then I feel like I'll be more invested. So I think but so far I like the character dynamics. I like how they make up for each other's their flaws, I guess. They sort of strengthen, they're stronger together, because there are moments you just see like Gon being like, oh, I had no idea that was the answer, and you guys figured it out. I was like, great. Like everyone else was like, oh, this kid must have known, like, and everyone's like, no, actually, no, I have no idea. Glad you guys pulled me through that bit.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I definitely get what you mean, because others' weaknesses are someone else's strengths, and you see this in quite a few moments in the chapters that we've read. So it's nice that we have these four main core, this group formed by those four, who are actively supporting each other and getting each other through and making sure everyone's okay. As for me, I actually have seen the entire anime, which I think started in 2011.
Yep,
I want to say. Yeah.
There's another one that was earlier, but
oh yeah, the 90s one. Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I have watched the 2011 anime. Absolutely epic. Loved it, but I've forgotten all of it. So when I saw Kite at the beginning, a kind of tear was brought to my eye at seeing him again.
Your long lost love.
Yes.
Wait a second.
I mean, it was nice to.
Oh God. Who wouldn't fall for that
beautiful.
hair? Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning.
I mean, for me, it was just nice to see him intact. So.
What? Wow.
Jade, mate, spoilers. Fam.
He barely appeared for me. Like, it just, oh, okay, I guess. Like,
we need a spoiler warning in the podcast.
But yeah, I liked the messages that the manga was sending from the start, to kind of respect the boundaries of animals and nature and other people, and as we go through the trials with them. And I have to agree with you guys, the beginning was very reminiscent of One Piece, where we also start in a village, but there were some key differences. Like Aunt Mito got really, really upset, and Kite wasn't there for a long time. And yeah, as you said, Ollie, we didn't spend that much time at the village, so it was the sort of, you see the similarities but also the differences, but also this is a shonen.
Yeah, it's true,
for sure. Yeah, so what did you think about the characters?
It's always a tough one, especially this early on in a shonen. I think that a lot of the characters kind of come into their own later, once you've discovered more about them and had them kind of tested. We've only really gone through the introductions, so the only one that to me at this point kind of stood out was Hisoka, or whatever you want to say, who I'm fairly sure has inspired Roosevelt from ReZero, or just generic like any other like clown adult, if you know what I mean. I thought he was interesting. He was definitely different to the others, and the fact that he was clearly quite strong but also didn't choose to kill everybody made him quite interesting. For the others, Gon was kind of standard protagonist. I like that he wasn't exactly the cleverest. It made for some quite funny moments. Then you get Killua, who is pretty cool, obviously quite strong, but we don't see much of what he does. Similarly, most of the rest of the characters, we've yet to see them really tested. So at this point, I don't think any of them amazingly stand out yet. Are your thoughts similar, or did any of them really stand out for you?
In a way, they all stand out because they're all very like distinctly different from each other. They're quite easy to remember, which is good for manga, and they're all intriguing in the different ways. So when I do continue this, whether watching anime or continue the manga, I feel like I'll be quite interested to get to know the characters for sure. But I guess at this point, I'm not attached. I just love how all of them are just so like okay with murder.
Yeah.
Like especially like kids, like Gon. I'm just like, bruh, like you wouldn't even like hurt an animal. And now you're seeing just like Killua like ripping some guy's heart out. You're like, all right.
Yeah, we'll just roll with this. This is fine.
Wow, this is pretty cool. Guess that's what it takes to be a hunter. Yeah, I guess like I didn't expect it to be, I know it's a shonen, but I didn't expect it to be that dark in terms of like, you know, have a freaking homicidal clown.
He's the best character, fight me.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, but like it's shonen, but it's also has these dark elements, like with One Piece, you never see anyone actually die. Maybe they die, but like off screen, right? But here they show like murder happening, but it still has this like shonen vibes. I don't know why, it's a little bit off, a little bit for me, because I feel like you're mixing two very different things. It's like you have these dark things happening, but no one is really like, everyone's like, eh.
I actually really liked that. I thought that
really
the fact that it wasn't just all harmless added that sense of danger that I think is often really missed in shonen, when, you know, especially the early arcs tend to be very safe and they're kind of discovering characters. Nobody really gets hurt. Almost certainly nobody dies. And knowing that, you know, they're weeding out people and that there are these deaths and there are some pretty nasty things going on, you know, like the prisoners in the last few chapters we're reading did some pretty awful things. And knowing that that exists in this universe, I think raises the stakes.
I don't know. But I think it's like, I feel like maybe the tone is still not dark enough for me, maybe. Because I still feel like you have these people going, friendship, we're bonding. And
yeah.
Flies dropping like flies left and right. I'm like,
hang on a minute.
Something's not right here. But yeah, but I appreciate some of the darkness of it, like the character Tompa, right? Like he's like saying, I'm just doing this to like see people mess up and, you know, mess with their lives. I like to see people suffer. I was like, bro,
what an awful guy.
Ooh, okay. Like his character took me by surprise. I thought he was just some guy who wants to be a hunter and just want to mess with people, but he has more depth than just wanting to be he doesn't want to be a hunter, but you know, he deceived us all. Very interesting.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It is really interesting, and you really see this kind of breadth of character personalities in that as well. Would you say it's like a, you know, it's like levels of darkness with each character? You can place each character like at each point in the story. It's like you go here, you go here. Maybe.
That's a good question. I think that there are some characters that are a little harder to judge. So we know, for example, that Gon wants to find his dad. And you'd be like, you know, why aren't you there being a father? What are you doing? Even if you are a hunter, like, why have you chosen, assuming, of course, that he's chosen it, why are you doing that rather than raising your kid? And so on, who is a little harder to place and is, of course, one of the mysteries that hopefully we'll find out. Sadly, it has not been revealed within 22 chapters.
Yes, unfortunately not. I think for characters that stand out to me, I think it would probably be the actual. So apart from the, you know, our core team and the other exam attendees, it would probably be the examiners themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's kind of like a glimpse into what hunter life is actually like. And so we get a glimpse of what they'll be, you know, what kind of people our MCs are going to be. You know what I mean? Like,
as in completely nuts and demanding sushi.
Yeah. What was that? Okay.
I think especially when we started with that the blonde guy with the mustache in like a tuxedo, was it, or the penguin
Yeah,
suit.
I always saw him as more of like a robot.
Yes. When he just starts like running up the stairs really, well, not even running, just like walking up the stairs really fast, but no one can keep up with him.
Yeah, it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah, but I think for me that just stood out as sort of like, okay, we know that they're going to have to hone their powers and abilities and skills and their own strengths in order to be at a level like these hunters. So it was kind of like anticipatory for me, which was quite exciting.
Oh, apparently Satots, who's the guy with the mustache, has lavender hair, which I did not know from the manga.
That's beautiful.
But he's also not a robot. Looking at the character guide, although, oh my god, the expression on the page is great.
I also like that we get to see the big boss, the old guy. What was his name? It starts with a Y, right?
Do you mean Isaac Netero?
Netero, yeah, Netero-san. Big guy. I really enjoyed seeing him. And it's interesting watching him play. It wasn't basketball. It was more like, can you try and grab this ball from me? yeah. But that was nice to see as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these characters develop in a plot, which we will now talk about. So what did you guys think of the plot?
This is a tougher one because I've got the context of having read some more. So for me, it was kind of going over characters I knew and their introductions. And it was nice seeing them. But I didn't find at this point it had grabbed me much. I know it may be a slightly controversial opinion. When I was reading the manga for the first time, I was only really kind of digging it once we hit the Heaven's Arena arc, which is sort of the second/third arc, depending on if you take one of the unofficial arcs in the middle. I found that, as is classic with your kind of shonen intros, you have a lot of characters being introduced and showing what makes them different and undergoing some kind of trial together, but not often changing as characters from these trials. It's more just to show what they can do, which is great, and it's a good way of fleshing them out, but I don't find it as engaging. So it was comfy, it was enjoyable, I did like it, but it didn't, at this point, leave me like, yes, I need more. Were your views different, similar?
Yeah. I just see Jade munching away. Yes. For me, I share a similar view that I like to see more, but right now the plot, I feel like it's still setting up the characters and what they stand for and getting a glimpse of their motivations. But I guess there are some points, because I get what the mangaka is trying to do. I mean, at the beginning, you're trying to establish like all of these characters are very intelligent, right? It's solving these mysteries. They're sort of passing the tests, right? Each of them bringing their own sort of bringing their weight to it. For example, like the when they were chasing at the very, very beginning, before the test even officially began, it was still like the what's it called? The vetting process, right? When they were trying to save these like these two couples who've been attacked by magical beasts or whatever, when they're like both gone, like instantly could tell between the female and the male beasts, or like how Kurapika just happened to know realize that the other guy is not Leo Rio, and he was only hitting him because he didn't he didn't go he didn't keep his promise of looking after the injured guy. I love that. But I like the plot twist on that, you know, it shows like the character smart, but some of the bits during the trial that's supposed to show like, oh, these people, how they like, you know, IQ 20 their way out of this, like wasn't very like, wasn't that like, ah yes, hell yes, like, you know, for me, like it didn't have that like eureka moment. Like for, I don't know. It's just it's like the mangaka is trying to like establish that they're smart, but I don't know why just the whole setup of the some of the mysteries wasn't that interesting for me. I was like, okay, I guess they made it past that one, but
do you reckon that's because of there being other manga that have done a similar kind of thing and maybe iterated on this formula?
Definitely, I feel like because Hunter x Hunter is definitely like more earlier version.
It's one of the OGs, isn't it?
OGs, yeah. So I definitely would, you know, give a credit for that because it's so right now in the way it's so saturated we've already seen a lot of this kind of way of storytelling, right? Like you have Death Note. I don't know why that's like the first one that comes to mind when it's like, this is a double bluff. No, it's a triple bluff, and it's like, no, it's like, it's a quadruple bluff, and you're like blown away.
Expanding mind.
Exactly, galaxy brain sort of plot twist. But yeah, I appreciate it for what it is. But so some of the moments I'm like, some moments are hit and miss for me. Yeah, but overall I think I'm still, you know, relatively intrigued.
And then Jade, how did you find it rereading this, and do you think it stands up well given the context of the later chapters that you've read?
I think so. When I first watched the anime, I was on Tumblr at that time, and at that time I kept on seeing people draw fan art of like stuff that would come a bit later, so I was always like, oh, okay, this is what's going to happen. But now coming to this a few years later, because I watched it when I was 15, I think, so now coming to this a few years later, I'm like, I've forgotten everything. But I think a few things still remain, like the character of Hisoka, right? He terrified me a bit, and I think that was kind of like the purpose, because like, you know, in an exam where he is being examined, he fucks up the other the other people attending the exam.
Mm-hmm.
Like, imagine training for an exam your whole life and then coming to take your exam and then getting taken out by Hisoka.
Just a crazy clown dude.
Yes. So I think like when I saw that bit where, you know, that was it a swamp or a forest? I can't remember. They had to like pass it to get to the other side. When he kind of like took people out, I was like, I get that this is supposed to sort of show that he either has ulterior motives or he's just like a really wacky dude, or like he there's like going to be a story to this, you know what I mean? Like one of those options or more. But at the same time, it was kind of like, it just felt a bit weird seeing as, you know, Leoro cropped up again, like he was okay, but I don't think in my brain understood properly. I felt like it was a bit, I don't really know how to describe it, but I didn't mesh with it well. I read it and I was like, okay, that happened, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a defining moment for me. But I suppose with manga like Hunter x Hunter, the mangaka kind of wants to build this up slowly and like keep introducing but like more and more little things.
And there's a heck of a lot of characters.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I really enjoyed the plot at the beginning. I thought it was, you know, it was your standard shonen beginning, but I thought that little by little they come together quite well. the characters, and they are still learning more about each other. Kurapika and Leoria will keep getting annoyed at each other, but like ultimately they'll still be there for each other whilst they're finding stuff out, figuring their own way, which is cool. So yeah, I enjoyed the plot. What did you think of the artwork in this manga?
It's so clean.
Yes.
It's a little dated now, reading it in 2021, but I really like the way that they use panels. Just scrolling through, you can see there's occasionally people kind of peeking out from the panels, or actually standing on the panels and treating the bottom of the panel as the floor, or when somebody's jumping out, they'll like jump out of the panel. It's really good use. And I think also the kind of angles that are drawn work really well too, to make it, even when you see your characters and they're just on white background, there's no real background shown a lot of the time, but you still know where they are, because the opening kind of shots you get of this area are angled really well, they're drawn really nicely, so you don't ever really have that sense of being lost as to where people are. I liked it a lot. I think it's really strong, and it's good to know that it kind of continues that way. How about from either of you?
Yeah, I agree. I like that in the fights you can clearly tell what's going on, and it's very clean. That's especially satisfying for fights. Yeah, I think I have nothing to add. Like, all the characters are very distinctively designed as well. Can't wait to see how they evolve from it. But it seems like I don't know why, but the characters page, it just looks like the mangaka already has favorites, and his favorite is Hisoka, because everyone just looks, like just typical like 90s or the 2000s manga style. But there's Hisoka, it's like looking like coming from like a Bijoujo manga. Like, this clown is bringing sexy back.
That's why he was the most interesting character.
Yeah. Like, I see, like, this is kind of like off topic, but I just see, like, because I've been like soaked in this like manga world for a while, like I already seen like so many like screenshots and gifs of Hunter x Hunter. I just see a lot of people thirsting for this clown, or like there's like a shot with his butt out or something, and people are posting it that a lot. I'm just like, interesting.
That jawline though, damn.
Yeah, like if you just look at this page that introduced all the characters at the beginning of the volume, oh god, the delight.
Yeah, I see.
Everyone else had these like cute big anime eyes, and Hisoka, he's like, who's your daddy,
Yeah, he's looking down on you like you are nothing.
Yeah. He has this, like, the mangaka has his favorites.
He knows what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like that each person's kind of characteristics are they really shine through in this manga, I feel. I think with Killua, like, he comes from a family of assassins, and he's got the nails, and then to rip a person's heart out, that kind of thing.
So anime.
Yeah, I know, right? And then Gon, he's got his big eyes, his like kind of spiky hair, and big heart as well. His fishing rod. What's not to love about Gon? And with Hisoka, he radiates
danger. The good kind of danger.
Yes, sexy danger.
Yes.
Truly
the sexiest of danger.
Yeah. So I like that, as you guys have both touched upon this, all the characters are so distinct. I'm like starting to wonder how they even think up these, traits anymore.
Yeah, agreed.
It's like, I don't know how hard it is, like being someone who designs a world and characters, but being careful not to like completely make them look the same.
I think linked to that too, we've barely touched on it, if at all, in the manga yet, but the magic system that they use, Nen, in this, also lends itself really well to different kind of power sets and different abilities. And so rather than being constrained to like, hey, you've got 4 elements, you know, do what you will, it's a lot more broad and encouraging of creativity, which I think we see in later characters without really spoiling anything.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. It is nice. It is really, really nice. Were there any significant moments that stood out to you in Hunter x Hunter so far?
So far, that's quite a tricky question to answer. In fact, Suellen, I'm going to immediately pass the baton over to you first.
There's a bit that cracked me out a little where it was still just, we haven't met Killua yet, where they arrived from the ship, and they were just about to climb this hill to like this pine tree or whatever, where the ship guy gave them a hint, and they met this like old woman and her clan of people, who just stood there and did nothing, by the way. And I just thought about it. It was just like they could have just gone their way, and it's just the old woman there, and just her being suddenly brings out a mic or something, just like, you have to answer 2 these questions. Like, what the hell, just became like a game show host. Just that cracked me up like a little bit. Yeah, but other than that, I guess seeing the different tests was quite interesting, because you never know, because they established at the beginning it's like anything could be a test, you know, that's a part of being a hunter, you have got to expect the unexpected, which is cool. I enjoyed the ride, but the sushi one, man, like, what the hell was that?
The sushi was my standout moment, actually.
Really?
How did they like, really? Come on. It was so out of left field.
Yeah, like, I love how they're like trying to figure out from the knife, and like, ooh, how they figure out how to make it. I thought they really got to take that somewhere, and then there's just this over enthusiastic ninja who's like, oh, I'm from Japan. I know how to make sushi. And it just laughs at everyone who made it wrong.
And he gets tricked into giving like a really detailed description of how to do it.
I can't wait to see more of that guy.
It was good.
Yeah.
I think sushi for me was the only real standout moment from here, partly because, as you'd expect, a lot of stuff happens later, and you tend to remember those moments more. We're still in the like stage 1 of Shōnen when everybody's being introduced. So the only bit I really remember well is the sushi bit. Although I did also notice how, I guess, over the top a lot of the physical and kind of mental things that they do are, just to kind of set a baseline. So when they're initially running up that, you know, the however far they ran with Satars, it was very far.
Like 4 hours, right? They were running for.
I think 80 kilometers plus.
More than that, right?
Which is, yeah, that's a long way. Yeah. And I did a 28k walk a while back, and I was absolutely done for afterwards. Like, that was not a short walk. 80 kilometers. What?
And he gets faster and faster.
Exactly. So it was cool having that as like, hey, here's kind of the baseline. And so when people start pulling off these progressively more ridiculous things and, you know, fights, and like, I'm going to just break through a stone wall, I can kind of believe it, because the baseline's been set. As opposed to, these are all normal human beings that when they get angry can do things, you know.
Yeah. I think for me the standout moment was probably that when they were fighting the prisoners, because, you know, it's set up like a fighting arena, because there's like a pit around the stage and stuff like that, and, you know, you sort of expect that some people won't actually fight the people, but it was a nice mix, I think, between people who fought and people who like outsmarted the opponents. So I think that stood out to me because, again, it showed each character's sort of personalities, how they'd react in a tricky situation, that kind of thing. And I think it also kind of cemented something for them as well, just them doing something together like that. So that was quite nice for me. Okay, so in our OCHATO, we have a special segment where we pull a character from the previous manga that we reviewed into the current manga that we are reviewing. So the last manga we reviewed was Scum's Wish, which stars high school students Hanabi and Mugi.
Yeah.
How do you think they would fare in Hunter x Hunter?
That's a tough one because I think a lot of it comes from the drama you get between all the different characters. So Mugi and Hanabi are fairly ordinary people, actually. And a lot of what happens is them just kind of, it's a drama. So I propose actually that we bring Akane in instead.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like she will have more of a chance than any of them.
As in, like, scheming things.
Yes, because I think Hanabi and Mugi are like actually pretty normal-ish, whereas she is absolutely stone cold evil.
You know who I ship her with? Tompa. Yeah, they have the same outlook in life, just so, it's fun to mess with people and watch them suffer. I feel like they will be the greatest couple of Hunter x Hunter. the greatest villains. Power couple.
It
would be good. I'd really like to see it.
It would be interesting with Akane, I think. But I think if we were to bring Hanabi and Mugi in, I think like that would also be quite interesting because in Scum's Wish, they were kind of doing whatever to get what they wanted, what they thought they wanted. You know what I mean? And then towards the end of Scum's Wish, we sort of start to see them both change.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be interesting to see them trying to run 80 kilometers plus. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Imagine doing that.
I can't,
anyway.
Jade. I struggled walking 28. Not that much, but I was pretty sore afterwards.
I think it would also be interesting because I think they just wouldn't pass the ship test. I'm sorry to both of them, but it's true. I think they would be like, oh my god, or like furiously make out. I don't know, one or the other.
They are not equipped for Shōnen.
Yes, yeah, but it is interesting to put them in. What about the no, the girl with the pigtails?
That's who I was thinking. Noriko.
Sorry, yeah, Noriko. Yeah. How do you think Noriko would fare?
I think. Sorry, actually, Suellen, do you want to go first?
I have no thoughts on her other than maybe she'll be comic relief with Gon and Kirua. It's just funny to see how them interact.
I think that she would actually be quite strong, and she'd be like, I power everything by the power of cute. Which could actually work, and that would be like her Nen thing. Is like the cuter she feels like she is that day, the more strong she is. And there's a character later on, very mild spoilers. There's like 60 zillion characters. There's a character later called Cutie Beauty, who would be her like arch rival.
So funny.
And they'd maybe then if we had brought in Mugi, then they'd be like, who is cuter?
Oh my god.
And he'd have to fight the one that was less. Something.
I just had like a galaxy brain moment. You know what would be the most cruelest, but also the hottest couple? Hisoka and Asaki.
Asagi or Akane? Do you mean?
Oh,
Akane is the kind of evil one who's like,
yeah, the Akane.
yeah, Akane and Hisoka would be a match made in heaven.
Oh
They
my
both
God.
start off kind of trying to mind games each other and be like, they're on the same level as me.
Oh my God.
I ship
Just
it.
hold the NSFW finals.
I wonder if it exists. I'm not going to look it up on the
Oh my
podcast, but
God.
I'm not saying I won't later.
Don't look for it. We can blame you if you did.
That's very niche, isn't it? Akane from Scum's Wish.
Yeah, very niche
With-
shit, but I can see it.
Same. Do you have any final thoughts?
I think, yeah, this is very interesting manga. I can see a lot of it has got a very diverse characters who are very different and have very interesting motivations. I look forward to watching the anime of it. So I'm a bit lazy in terms of the manga. It's not really putting me yet. And plus, I feel like it's an action, so probably looks pretty good animated. Yeah, and I'm look forward to being completely, pulled in by the anime. Right now, I'm being teased. I'm like intrigued, but I'm not yet, like completely sold. But in a way, I'm sold because I know, a lot of people. It's like one of the most beloved anime. It's like it's up there, right? So I look forward to watching it.
Nice. For me, it's a fun one, rereading. I did, as I said near the start, originally read it about 2 years ago, up to roughly the end of the anime. I then know a little bit further. My issue is it's not finished, and I don't know if it ever will be. And I don't want to get that sucked in again and be like, you've left me on a cliffhanger. It's happened too many times. So I'm going to wait and see what happens from a third person. That's completely the wrong terminology, but I'm going to wait and see what happens before recommitting. But when it does have some kind of resolution, then I will do a reread. Because it's great. And some of the later arcs are really fantastic.
I think, I might give it a reread. Not that I've ever read it apart from now, but like, I think it was just interesting seeing, how they adapted the anime from this manga. It was nice seeing the characters again. It was like seeing old friends who I hadn't seen in a long time. So that was really nice. And yeah, it just brought back those memories of watching it at 5 a.m. before school. So
we've all been there.
That was I don't know if it was like I got up at 5 a.m. to watch it or I stayed up till 5 a.m. I probably stayed up till I stayed up till 5 a.m. to watch it. I stayed up, just in the dark until the sunrise. So that was really nice. What are we reading next episode?
We are reading Golden Kamui, recommended by me, up to chapter 38. This is a manga by Satoru Noda. We'll find out what it's about. It's going to be a wild ride, that I can promise you. Yeah, and it's also, probably 18 plus. Don't want to be reading that. It's if you think Hunter x Hunter, it's a lot of murder. Get ready. Get ready.
I'm ready. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm so ready. Ever since I saw that giant mural at the British Museum's manga exhibition, I was like, oh, I'm so ready.
So ready.
Yeah, I can't wait. Thank you for listening to this episode of OCHATO.
We will see you in the next episode.